I'm Sarah. I am an illustrator from Brighton, but I live in London. And I have been with Handsome Frank for about 4 years now. So yeah, and I draw all sorts of different things. I do portraits, I do editorial, I do maps and food illustrations and prints. I try to keep it to a wide range of different subject matter. So. For me, I am aware that most people who go onto a website aren't going to probably spend a lot of time there. They're going to scroll down and get a sense, the essence of the work. So I try to keep my website as shallow as I can. I want people to go on my website and almost it's like a bouquet of images. They get an impression of what I do quickly. I want it to be bright, colourful, interesting and bold. So that's what I've tried to do. And if I do have a project that's got multiple images, I'll quite often do like a GIF that moves through the image, the different images. So you can have a sense of different pieces of work for that project without having to click through and view them all. Because I actually sometimes look at the metrics of my website and I notice that, you know, people just do stay on the homepage rather than going into detail onto individual projects. So that's my way of getting around that issue. If you're using images that have different, like some are portrait and some are landscape, my website cuts everything down to uniform height, which of course allows for a much more uniform layout. But it means that if you have an image that's say portrait, it'll just get kind of squeezed down to fit into that height restriction. So I don't really know a way around that because you can't have it both ways. You can't have every image dimension displayed ideally whilst also having a uniform landing page. So I guess that's a frustration. Sometimes things get squashed down into a very small space so that you can't really see too much detail, which is always a problem with digital work online. You can spend hours on an image and make it look really great, but then someone might just see a small thumbnail of it and that's the only experience they'll have of it. So that's just a kind of everyday problem for image makers, I think. People actually are attracted to watching GIFs for a long time because the human brain looks for differences, tiny differences in a pattern. That's what our brains are designed to do. So you'll look at a GIF and even though you know nothing's going to change, you're still kind of staring at it, expecting something to change. But for me, when I'm making a GIF of work, my #1 tip is don't let it move too quickly because actually it's just totally overwhelming if it whizzes through loads of images. It's easier just to keep it a steady, slow procession. And then you watch it for longer and it's more interesting. So that's my GIF tip. To improve your portfolio, I would say make the most of the fact that a computer screen is a source of light. Use bright colours and bold lines because it works really well when you've got light coming through from the screen. And it's so amazing how differently something can look from a screen to a printed page. They could just look vastly different. I did something for the Washington Post and it was a glittery dress and a high heel for an article about divas. And on my website, it really sparkles. And when it came out onto print, the colours were just very different. So, I was really pleased with it, but it was duller and it was just more muted. So make the most of having that light source and just be bold. That's my advice.